with the North Shore Library.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kelly. And thank you,
Mhm.
Monica, too. As Kelly stated, I am the very recently retired director at North Shore. And what you see here in front of you is a photo of our entrance at the library. And to give you a little context about North Shore, we're a joint library. We serve the communities of Bayside, Fox Point, Glendale, and River Hills in the northern suburbs of Milwaukee. We had a current operating budget of just over $1 million. The Village of Bayside is the library's fiscal agent, and as such, they act as our um, fiduciary agent as well as our human resources department. The city of Glendale owned our space that we had been in for 40 years. And if you recall at all, the space was right in front of what used to be Cardinal Stretch College for many, many years. And um, at that time, we were in a condo unit that was owned by the city of Glendale. And we had about 16,000 square feet. Our service population is about 27,000 people among the four communities. And we had a staff of about 25, with six of those being full-time librarians, the director and managers, two part-time librarians, and the remainder of our staff was in circulation, processing, and shelving. Now, of course, we just didn't do this in a vacuum. It took four times for our facility to get built. There were several attempts over the years to revamp and remodel and renovate the space that we were in Glendale. And as you can see here, the carpeting is those wonderful, like late 80s, early 90s colors, beige walls, the green topped stacks. Yeah, right on down with that wonderful color palette of the bright yellow in the children's room. And these pictures are from when we closed for a few days to get these stacks moved. We eventually had these all repainted and repurposed in the new library in the children's room. So as things happen with a lot of things that happen, at least in my world in library land, and I'm sure all of yours too. Everything starts with a conversation. And uh, before I got to North Shore, um, the village president of one of our municipalities had conversations with a developer. And that was kind of wouldn't it be a great idea if we did this? Or, one of the types of conversations that, sometimes they seem to take place, in one of our watering holes or whatever around the state. But this was just at a, um, village board meeting or a village architectural review board meeting where the developer and the village president were just kind of batting ideas around. And the developer says, well, we want to have this um, luxury apartment building to go up. And it was on the corner, it was meant to be on the corner of Brown Deer Road and I-90, no, is it 43? Sorry, I-43 going north. Um, in Bayside. And the village president said, well, we have tried numerous times to get a new library built. What if, um, what if we work together and make this happen with the library and with a building? So that's what happened. And that all took place before I came back from Washington State in 2022. So in 21, Rinka architects were hired to design our library space. They are also the same architectural firm that did the apartment structure. And the new building was comprised of 4 floors of luxury apartments. two light retail spaces on the ground floor, and then the library on the ground floor as well. So if we fast forward to 2022, the library agrees to accept the donated space. We signed a contract with Rinka to begin work on developing the project and doing a build out for us. The library begins a capital campaign and to build out the space. And our goal at that time was over $11 million overall. And then I started in May. So I was at North Shore for about 4 years total to get this all underway and going and done. And here you'll see our space. And I'm hoping you can actually like see it and see it somewhat clearly. In the upper left-hand corner is our children's space. Upper right-hand corner was the adult room. Lower right is the meeting room spaces. And then the lower right or lower left, I'm sorry, is our staff and circulation space. We had a drive-through window and a young adult space. And one of the larger spaces back in our back of house area was our mechanical room. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But we also had 9 spaces for study rooms. We had a boardroom and we had a dividing wall installed in the large meeting room. So we had a lot of meeting space, which was what the communities were asking for. We only had 4 meeting rooms in the old space and they were all small and none were very private because they had glass walls in between. So in 2023 through 25, we had the groundbreaking for the building. Our capital campaign was ongoing. We continued to work with the architectural firm to fine-tune the plan and cut various things for cost savings. And this is where one of the biggest cost savings we had was where the mechanical room initially was put into a mezzanine level in the library between the apartments above and our space. And we saved over $1 million by moving all of the mechanical equipment, the HVAC and things like that, onto the first floor level. And after we moved into the space and got settled and whatnot, I was so thankful that the mechanical room was just down the hall from my office because it was saved us a lot of time and I think a lot of effort and frustration in terms of making sure that our climate control was working. For those of you who may recall, we sued our foundation at one point in 2024 because the Friends had given them money to hang on to the tune of $600,000. And we ultimately dropped the lawsuit. We never did get the money, but we're not we, since I'm not there anymore, but whoever will replace me at some point will be working with the Friends to try to get that funding back. The building was done in late 24 and the tenants began to move in. And then in May of 25, right around this time last year, the municipalities voted to fund our gap to goal with the capital campaign because we were short about $2 million to move forward with the project and feel comfortable that we could actually do it and pay for things. The one thing I didn't mention earlier was that our space was donated and valued at $4 million, but we were required to do the build out. So the library went with this capital campaign and did a lot of groundwork to get that funding in place. And we were able to get most of it. And then the municipalities now have provided the gap to goal funds. The caveat with that is that we have to pay the municipalities back. And with some grants and things, I do believe most of that has already been taken care of. So it was all, a good situation all around for that. And the reason why we decided to move so fast last year was simply because of the costs that were involved. The construction firm had given us a quote in August of 24 for the building, and they held that same quote until we started in June last year. But we had to have something in place by June 1st because of tariffs and things that were pending to move forward. So it all worked out, but it was kind of a hairy situation for a little while, especially the month of May, trying to figure out if we were actually going to go through with things or if we were not going to be able to. So here's some photos from 23 when the building was going up. And the picture on the right-hand side on my screen, I guess your screen as well, is the library space. And you'll see a small person way off in the corner back there. But this was all when the space was open and the floors above were going in. And in 2024, you'll see that it's done. The photo on the left is the front of the building. The notched area on the ground level that you'll see on the right-hand side is actually our courtyard, and it was not finished off. We still need to do some fundraising to get that done. But the courtyard at this point wasn't open. But the library space is on the ground floor for most of the windows that you see on the ground floor in the photo on the left. And we went from about 16,000 square feet to just about 25,000. So that's a lot of space to try to maneuver through and work with and keep going with. And you'll see there's another someone back there working on something back there. I'm not quite sure what was going on, but it was enclosed by this time. And in 2024, most of the space looked like this. It was enclosed and just a blank space. And here's our main entrance, where those individuals are standing on the left-hand side. We must have had a tour of some kind that day. And then the picture on the right is the front entrance before we had the sign put in. And it all looks nice from the outside, but inside it was all concrete. So then the fine print, here we go. Our space donation to the library was worth $4 million. What happened with that is that we ultimately had a condo agreement with the developer and the developer slash building owner. So we pay monthly fees for exterior upkeep, snow removal, and grounds maintenance. And part of the agreement for the first year was that we pay our property taxes, but thereafter we don't pay that. And the total cost of our build out was $6 million. So we did a lot of that fundraising early, was like fundraise early and often kind of situation. And then um, with the space donation, we did end up paying rent for our space before we signed the condo agreement. So as things moved on last year, we had walls and we had lots of things going in. I couldn't believe the amount of HVAC equipment. And looking back now, I'm not sure how that all would have fit in a mezzanine level. And the photo on the right is one of our tours that we had. And I learned how to rock the helmet and the orange vest. And this is a photo of the children's section last year when we were getting close to um, getting everything done. The painting is done here. Carpeting has been installed. The back room that looks a bit dark is our children's story time room. We had a small stage. And it was the space there is just really bright and cheerful. And the kids in the community ultimately loved it. The picture on the right-hand side is our adults section. Some of the open spaces that you see on the left-hand side were ultimately closed in to be meeting rooms and study spaces. And the far window towards the back is where the quiet reading area is located. And some of the details in progress and process. Um, the One of the highlights in the building is the ceiling detail with the panels and the light. They're just metal panels that were prefabricated, and they're in like a leaf shape, and that the circular part sits over the reference desk just perfectly. And you'll see another picture of that later. And we were kind of laughing, do not enter, walk around. Well, there was nowhere really to walk around because they were in the process of painting the ceiling space up in there black. They had left that all open with, the different piping and different things that are up in the ceiling that you can see. So it looks very industrial right there. And then they have that lovely um, lit space above the desk. And then one of the things that I wanted in the new space in one of the non-gendered restrooms was an adult changing table. And for those of you who know me and know I've been around for a very long time, at one point I worked at Lakeshore's library system and worked in the area of special needs and youth services. And one of the things I'd always wanted to have in a building was an adult changing table, just to make things more inclusive and um, to have a space where all types of families can come in and just make that available for anyone who needs to have something like that available. And I have to say, I think it's used very frequently by parents with toddlers, older kids who are a little bit too big for the changing table. And it's just been a very nice thing to have in the building. The area on the left here is the young adult area. The area on the right is our circulation desk before it was finished. And our final outcome, two of the retail spaces are still vacant. We have a great relationship with the apartment management and with the maintenance staff. We had some fears about the residents, and those have gone largely unrealized. And those types of things included, people glomming onto our Wi-Fi, or people bringing their pets into the building or something like that. But I think for us and for our situation, we could not have asked for, first off, a better turnout or a better partner to work with. Um, the family and the developers that we worked with were really great to work with. Worked with us very well in terms of um, making sure that our needs were taken care of with the condo agreement and making sure that we had what we needed in our space. And um, there were a few times where, the ubiquitous coffee shop discussion comes up, and at one point where there was a lot of talk initially about, the library having a coffee shop or one of the adjacent retail spaces having a coffee shop. And we, among the staff, we had discussed all this, and there was a lot of concern about, who is going to, um, maintain our space, who is going to maintain our security, things like that. And it became not a struggle, but it became a situation where we had to say, we are not going to do this unless these criteria are met. And a lot of that was due to security, because we would have had to purchase a new gate, or it would have been something to do with, who's going to maintain our space when something gets spilled and those types of things. And, um, to be honest, nobody really wanted um, to deal with our security needs. So any kind of coffee shop discussion didn't last very long. The apartment management, the current manager and their maintenance staff has been fantastic. We had back in, oh my gosh, when was that? March? Whenever we had that last huge rainfall, um, I'm thinking, I can't remember when it was now. Maybe March. Yeah, I'll say March because I can't remember because I'm old. And we, I had contacted them right away. And of course, I wasn't there. I was up at my dad's house in Upper Michigan. And um, we had something on the ceiling had failed in terms of a seal. So we were getting this gush of water coming down and into our circulation area. And the staff, put bins out and things like that. And I let the apartment manager and their staff know right away. And we had things taken care of very quickly. So that was um, something that I really appreciated, that um, we had such a good situation with everything going on with them. And then to close up here, I have just a few more pictures. I know I'm babbling and not giving Monica much time, and I'm sorry for that. But here's our adult section and view from the reference desk. And you'll see going into the children's room that the end panels on the children's stacks are different colors. We had the children's stacks completely repainted and refinished and repurposed in our new building. And the shelving in the adult section was from Cardinal Stritch when they closed. They donated that to us. So we were able to reduce, reuse, and recycle quite a bit in terms of our furnishings. Here's our young adult space. We have a separate study room for teens. And some new items in the children's room. We have the mom and baby workstation and the little blue truck. And then these two views are from the night before we opened back in February. I popped into the library real late at night and because I couldn't sleep, and I'm like, I'm just going to go up there and got some nice pictures where it was, like the quiet before the storm kind of thing. But you can see the metal panels up on top, the leaf shape there, and how it goes all the way straight down. It just draws your eye right down to that reference desk. And here we go. We did it finally. So these are the individuals that we all partnered with, different people from the communities, our library board, the architectural firm, the construction firm, etc. And um, I have to say the whole process was amazing, and I'm happy it's over. And I'm even happier now to have time with my parents and whatnot to help them. So if you need to get a hold of me, I am no longer at North Shore, but my contact information is here. And you can reach me by my Gmail or by my cell number or on Facebook, whatever.
Sounds good.
All
Thank you,
right. Thank you.
Rhonda. So we'll have you take your slides off, and then Monica can share hers. And while you two are doing that, I will mention, if you had more questions for Rhonda and you did not get a chance to write down that Gmail, I am going to be sending out links to both sets of slides as well as the recording of the presentation after this event. So don't feel like you've got to write everything down really fast. So
Right.
in any case, now we will move on to Monica and the new Richmond Community Library. Take it away. Thank you.
You. And thank you, Rhonda, for kind of paving the way here. I'm going to spend a little bit less time on kind of some of those planning processes because a lot of what we did in New Richmond mirrored what Rhonda went through at the North Shore Library. Um, New Richmond, for those of you who are not terribly familiar with it, come on. There we go. Helps when the slides advance. We are an outer tier suburb of the Twin Cities. So we're way over in St. Croix County. We are a bedroom community. Um, St. Croix County and New Richmond is one of the fastest growing areas in the state. We are right across the Stillwater Bridge from Minnesota. So when they put in that new Stillwater Bridge, that brought a ton of people across the state lines, and we are growing. Right now, we are approximately 11,400 people in our municipality, but our service population is a little over 26,000. So again, kind of comparable to some of the things that Rhonda was talking about. Um, it's a beautiful community located on the Willow River. Our library is has an annual budget of 1.7 million, but a large part of that is to pay for this lease. And I'll talk a little bit about how that happens. And our FTE is 9.1 with 14 actual people. We started kind of a history and timeline. This image is the Carlton A. Friday Memorial Library, which has been the New Richmond Library since 1963. So this served the New Richmond community for 62 years. And similarly to what you heard from Rhonda's presentation, there were many starts and stops and starts and stops. There were at least four different, I'm going to call them iterations of the building project where architects were hired, plans were made, designs were put out. The city and the library, together and separately, spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars collectively in kind of just hiring these, doing fundraising studies, creating plans, all to have it sort of fail due to lack of funding, due to not a lot of in community, like the wealthy people staying in the community that are willing to kind of support these community projects. In this particular iteration, the one that was successful, the time from the initial RFQ, which is a request for qualifications, until our opening day was about 4.5 years. So even after we got underway with this, it did take a lot of time. And I want to talk a little bit about the mixed use proposal and why we decided to go this route. Mixed use facilities can solve a lot of the problems that both Rhonda and I, or the people who preceded us, really our libraries, faced when it comes to being able to pay for a building, when it comes to where the money is coming from. In this case, because it is a mixed use facility, there were some shared costs. The total project cost for this facility was $30 million, but the city of New Richmond and the New Richmond Community Library, our cost was really between 14 and 15 million of that. And the New Richmond City Council agreed to borrow $10 million. And so that is why a portion of this is now in my operating budget, to kind of help recoup some of the funds that were borrowed. We also have some ongoing cost sharing that makes this a really nice way to go about a project. And I think Rhonda touched on this a lot with the HVAC components. That was just one example, but there's maintenance costs that can be shared. There's some outdoor things that can be shared. The other long-term benefit in New Richmond, the site that we are on was started as a school. It was the first school in the city of New Richmond, and was a school up until 2017, when that building was condemned. And by building housing, this created a tax increment district in a spot that never generated taxes for the city of New Richmond before. And so that also created kind of an ongoing tax benefit for the city in that it generates more of that income, which can go back into the library budget. The other benefit, and obviously libraries have a lot of community connection benefit anyway, but having this as a mixed use facility allowed us to really create community connections. We have 78 housing units. They are all market rate apartments. I believe at this point in time, they're about 90 or maybe even a little bit more percent filled. And it also, our location creates this really awesome connection between our historic downtown area and our local fitness sport complex. On the north side of our building, they added a wide biking and walking path. And as you will see in the next couple of slides, we also have a coffee shop, which I know Rhonda talked about. Yeah. This is our floor plan. And this is the whole library, where I'm kind of putting my mouse right here. This is the central corridor. People coming to the library will park down on the south side and enter. And the main part of the library is all to the east here. Right to the west in this corner down here, it says tenant space on the floor plan, and that is Jeweltown Cafe, which you'll see a little picture of in the next slide, which is a locally owned coffee shop and bakery. And then kind of up in here, there is an apartment manager office right on site. So we do have someone always there to sort of help out with the management of the building. And then we have some community meeting rooms that are available outside of library hours. So that then this door is the main entrance to the library. And the rooms that are beyond that are only available during library hours and are managed solely. Oh, thank you, Jill, for letting me know that we can't see the mouse. That's a good, helpful hint. I can see it, of course. Why can't you? Let's try. Can you see it if I'm here? If I move it here? So here's the main corridor, tenant space, meeting rooms. Here is the manager office, lobby. And then this is the main entrance to the library. I really appreciate you letting me know. That helps me with my being able to share. And so you can also kind of see there's meeting rooms outside the library, meeting rooms inside the library as well. And part of what I want to talk about with mixed use is just what are some of the challenges and what are some of the ways that, in addition to building a mixed use facility, some thoughts about running and managing a mixed use facility. So as I said, our community partners, we have this center picture here is the north side entrance to the library, and that you can see they call it Archway Residences. We partner with 360 Real Estate. They are a real estate management company out of the La Crosse area, and they have a number of apartments in communities nearby. And then we have this picture on the left side of the screen. There is the inside of the coffee shop, and then on the right side is kind of peeking through the window, where you can have the most amazing coffee I've ever had, and they make wonderful desserts. And one thing I will talk about with the management piece is they do also serve food and ice cream. And so we really did have to think long and hard about how we would partner that and what we would allow and not allow within our space. In shared spaces, there are inherent challenges. And obviously, a lot of these challenges are going to exist in any library in terms of behavior management. I think what I wanted to really bring about, or to really ask people to think about if you're kind of thinking about these projects, is how these shared spaces can sort of muddy the waters when it comes to managing some of this. And so behavior management in shared spaces, behavior management is always an issue in libraries, but we know in a normal library or in our old space, like we were in charge. It was our space. We could set the rules. We knew what to do. One of the things we've run into now is especially in this kind of up here in this open corridor. This is the main corridor between the library entrance and the coffee shop. And you can see there's chairs and there's booths and there's places to sit. And if there are badly behaved teens or people who are, maybe smoking something in the bathroom that they're not supposed to, whose responsibility is that? And that was a question that we were actually we've actually faced both of those already in the 3 months that we've been open. We've only, getting close to 4 now. We've been open about 4 months. Additionally, there are 7 meeting rooms located within the library and another 3 meeting rooms in this corridor outside the library. So who's responsible for that? And we'll talk a little bit about that. I have some pictures of those coming up. The confusion in managing outdoor spaces. Who owns those? Who maintains those? Who manages those? Who manages behavior? As I alluded to in the previous screen, since we have a coffee shop on hand, they serve food, they sell drink boxes, they have all kinds of wonderful treats. But what can people bring into the library? And we had to decide pretty quickly what we wanted to allow. And then the last one on here, and I have a picture of it just to the side, is our community bulletin board. And so one of the challenges that we faced was this bulletin board is located right out in that central corridor. And how do we ensure that the residents who live upstairs or the people who run the coffee shop or the people who use the coffee shop don't just decide that that is their community bulletin board to put whatever they want on there? And so really trying to establish the guidelines and rules for who manages and controls what space, I think has been a super eye-opening and important part of this whole project. A couple of images of the shared spaces. On the right, that is our large meeting room. It has a capacity of 138. It lies right off of the main corridor, and it is technically managed by the city of New Richmond and not by New Richmond Community Library. The middle picture, we have an outdoor playground. As you can see, the rubber padding has not been installed yet. And so right now, one of our biggest behavior challenges is really helping people to understand that it is not safe to play on yet, because look at how wonderful and inviting that looks. You can access this right from our children's room door. We have a door from the children's area that goes out to this playground as well. And then there is that same shared corridor. You can see a little bit further into it and where some of the meeting rooms are located. Our public bathrooms are also located off this corridor. And so that again raises questions about who's in charge of spot cleaning, who changes toilet paper in the bathroom. Are we calling other people to troubleshoot? Do we need to have some of these things laid out ahead of time? And so if anyone is considering mixed use projects, as small as some of these seem, it is really worth having the conversations ahead of time or as soon as you can to ensure that some of these get dealt with. I've touched on this a little bit, but I wanted to share that the meeting rooms have actually proved to be quite a challenge. The city charges a rent for the use of their rooms, and I have all three. I have their rooms on the next slide where you can see them up close. The library doesn't, but we have some similar sized rooms. And so as a worry, it's possible that we are pulling revenue that could go back into the library budget by having free meeting rooms that are just as acceptable to the public. Because I really believe that the city meeting rooms and the library the meeting rooms through the library should be free and available. But I don't think that we were great about about the clarity of what the city's expectation is versus what the library's expectation is for using the meeting rooms. We also have some challenges in who troubleshoots and manages the AV equipment. So these are the three meeting rooms that the city manages. Again, that really large one is right in the middle. That's probably the most popular. We have two boardroom size rooms. One is set up casual lounge style and the other is set up boardroom style. But compare that to the library meeting rooms, and you will see that we also have a couple of boardroom style rooms. We have a lounge. So over here we have this lounge style space. Um, it's a little bit smaller than the one the city offers, but it's still appealing to a lot of people. Down in the corner with the orange wall is what we call our multi-use room. That seats about 15, has access to a sink, and is really great for messy things. And if you are having a group meeting that can be as small as a 15-person room, we absolutely will let you have that for free. And then we have a couple of smaller rooms. So the one with the really cool little curved table here, this is a small breakout, kind of a mini conference room. And the one with the three chairs around the table is one of our two small study rooms. So 7 rooms. We really wanted to prioritize spaces for people. I wanted to add a little bit of the celebrations in here because I think when you get to have a new building and when you get to explore these new spaces, it's just so wonderful to be able to say, here's some things that for all of the struggle and all of the hard work in getting a new space and not getting any additional staff and having to change all our workflows, I think it's really important to also have those celebrations that in our old building, we didn't have our own bathroom. We shared 2 single stall restrooms with the public, and we didn't really have much of a break room. We had a tiny little closet with a card table and a single chair and a refrigerator and a sink. And we have this amazing break room now, which I do have pictures of. We have so many meeting rooms in our building that I thought for sure we were building too many. But yesterday, we had every single room in the entire library booked and people still asking for spaces. We have, in the pictures that you're going to see coming up, we have really, really prioritized spaces for people, which is not to say that we don't have good spaces for collection, but we really wanted to prioritize gathering. I think that's a huge celebration is the increased community connections, the connections that come through Jeweltown Roastery, and having the coffee shop on site, that come from being next to our fitness and sporting complex. And that just we are bringing in more people in the building. The other really cool thing, and you'll see a photo of it coming up, is that we now have a dedicated delivery space. So when our bins come every day in our consortium that we're sharing, we have a place that they can be dropped off and be picked up, and they are not having to step over staff work areas or cram things into corners. It's really amazing. And we have so much storage. The next few slides that I'm gonna go, I'm kind of flying through it. I'm gonna go quick, and a lot of them really are just pictures of the areas so that you can get an idea of some of our spaces. This is our teen area, and our main color in the teen area is blue, but we have all these pops of orange. We have some noise muffling on the ceiling. Almost all of the library meeting spaces are accessible through this teen area. So of the 7, 5 are you get to through this area. So even though it is our teen space, it is not solely for teens, and it is accessible to anyone, although it has become quite a hangout spot. And you can see, again, large places for people to gather, lots of seating. Our children area, we kind of went with the main color of green. I know you see trees a lot. A lot of libraries have been doing trees in the children's area, and we really love it. But you'll notice kind of on these 2 bottom pictures that our trees are a little bit artistic. They're a little different than what you might see. And that was very intentional. If you look really closely at some of the pictures, you can kind of see that there are some leaves hanging. Our children's department staff have have been able to make crafts and actually hang things from the trees. They also have an outlet at the top of each of the trees that allows us to plug in and string lights, which is really pretty cool, in my opinion. Um, and then we have these amazing circle seats, which I have seen babies and toddlers all the way up to John Thompson, who is the director from IFLS, was sitting in one of those yesterday. So, um, pretty much everybody who can get in one of those does. Um, our adult area, our main color scheme was kind of this lovely charcoal with pops of red. So all of our areas have differentiated a little bit by color, and the carpet changes are subtle, so people may not realize, but you can absolutely tell that there's a different feel to the building. I also want to point out in the, I do have that John picture, it's on my phone. Maybe I'll show it. Um, the when we were prioritizing spaces for people, so kind of down in this bottom corner here, we built in these two reading nooks. This is one of them, and you can see that it has a little bit lower of ceiling. It has extra walls. We know that people like corners. They want to tuck themselves back into a corner. They want to feel like they're in a private space. So even though these are open, the other one you can see up in this picture, this is our puzzle corner. And then this nook right here faces a window. So it's a lot more sunny and bright, but it still creates those corners. And they're almost always in use. I'm really kind of thrilled that I got this bottom picture actually when nobody was sitting in it, because that's a rare thing. The other thing that our designer did that I thought was pretty great was there are ottomans everywhere that can be moved around, and oh boy, do our patrons move them. So I would say yes to ottomans. In our staff spaces, the other thing I really wanted to share, I mentioned before that we had a dedicated delivery. That is this room right here. And actually, this is the same room. These two middle pictures are the same room from very different angles. But we have that concrete floor. We can park carts, and you can see bins stacked. The door right here is where the delivery driver can have access in and out and never have to be in other parts of the library. And then we also got some lovely office space, some shared offices where people can have some really great collaboration. And then because it was such a celebration, I did want to share a picture of our break room. Y'all, this up here is our break room, which, yay! So you can see more than one person can eat lunch at the same time, which is just fantastic for us. So I went really, really fast, and that is the end of my slides. I noticed when Rhonda finished that I had not added my contact information, so I will make sure that it is on here when I send these out to Kelly. But I did want to give a little bit of time for questions, or if there's anything we can go back and see. So I hope I didn't speed through too fast, but I wanted to make sure you all had opportunities to ask whatever you needed to ask. So
No, that's
I
great.
will.
We have 6 minutes for questions. So if anybody, there are no questions right now in the Q&A and chat, but if you've got anything, go ahead and throw that in there. I did love that you included both the challenges. Oh, here's John.
Oh.
I love it. I love it.
There.
Sorry, John. Sorry, John.
We love you.
So I love that you included both the challenges and then the wins. And I think that those staff spaces are really, really important because I
Feels
think
amazing.
you think about, obviously you want really great space for the public, but in order for you to do your job
Mhm.
effectively, like you need
Yeah.
that space for delivery
Yeah.
and you need a
You
space
really
where
do.
you can eat
Yeah.
lunch,
Yeah.
So
And I
yes.
would also like to just, I mean, I know I talked about it when I did my part of the presentation, but just for anyone listening who's thinking about this, as many of these things that you can think about ahead of time in
Mhm.
terms of where these responsibilities lie ultimately will just ease so many headaches because I think we really you get so focused on the funding piece. It's such a huge part of these projects. And even as Rhonda was talking, dealing with changes in funding can change everything, right? They can overtake a building. Um, and so sometimes some of the management pieces feel like we can figure that out down the road. But I really do want to encourage, if I can, to just really think about at least establishing who has the responsibility.
Mhm.
And if someone else has the responsibility for managing a space or for dealing with it, to then further ask the question, will there be demands on staff time? And so, for
Right.
example, we are not responsible for some of our meeting rooms that are located in or outside that actual library door, but we are called on all the time to
Mhm.
troubleshoot AV or
Yeah.
to deal with locked doors, or this isn't working, or there's spilled coffee on the table.
Mhm.
Um, and so even going so far as to say, yes, you're responsible, but are you going to be asking my staff? And if so, are you going to compensate my staff for that
Mhm.
time and
Yeah.
I
those
think
demands?
that is really important because the public, isn't going to differentiate between what you know to be
Exactly.
library spaces and city spaces, the meeting rooms
Or
specifically.
community, or
Why would
yeah,
Yeah.
why would they know the difference between
right,
that, And
right,
they shouldn't be expected to try to keep track of that.
right.
So that is huge. It seems like
Yeah.
saving yourself a headache early on. And I will
Yes.
also say, so the three of us met last week just to kind of go over a couple things. And when the two of you started talking about, oh, we experienced this, and the other person said, we did too. And I thought, oh my gosh, I wish I could have gotten you two together like 2 years ago when you were
Yes,
Right.
we should have.
starting.
Yeah.
Which I think means, again, if you are thinking about doing something like this, you know, reach out
Please reach
to,
out.
yeah,
hmm
reach out to Rhonda or Monica because
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
walked the
Yeah.
path already. So,
We have. My
mhm.
Yeah.
other tip really is over communicate.
hmm
Err on the side of too much communication rather than too little communication. Things we learned the hard way. There were just
Yeah.
so many things that were assumed, and I would say communicate, communicate, communicate with all of the partners in the project as much as possible. I don't know, Rhonda, would you agree with
I would
that?
totally agree with that. 110%.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
cannot
The more you can,
communicate
the
too
more
much.
things are easy in the end. So,
Yeah.
um,
Nice.
but yeah,
Yeah.
thank you
All
guys so
right.
much for
Yeah.
listening
Thank
to
you.
Yeah,
us
of
and letting
course.
us share
Well,
our beautiful buildings.
thank
Yeah.
you. And I will say to everybody, if you get a chance to visit the North Shore New Richmond libraries when you're on your next road trip, head over and see them. They look like beautiful spaces, and I'd love to see them in person. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you so
I might
much.
I might visit Monica tomorrow.
Please do. I'll be here.
I'm not far away
All
right now.
Thank you. So,
all right. Well,
All right.
thank you. I'm going to stop the recording now. And thank you, everybody who was able to join us. I will be sending out